Welcome to Contact Now. Today we will be talking about and explaining the history of printing. From woodblock printing to 3D printing, we will cover the past all the way to the future. We'll start by talking about woodblock printing.
Woodblock printing is one of the earliest and simplest methods for printing text, images, and patterns. Originating from around 200 CE, it was the most common method for printing books in East Asia. Woodblock printing helped mass-produce books, and as a result, inexpensive books became available during the Han Dynasty, and more people were able to afford them. A picture here shows a modernized variation of classic woodblock printing.
The demanding of more books eventually introduced the invention of the movable type, which created a much more efficient method of printing. Invented by Bi Sheng in China at around 1040 CE, it resulted in the economy of the Song Dynasty becoming remarkably exalted. The development of the movable type is often referred to as the highlight of economic development in China. The printer here is a typewriter, which was based off of the concept of the movable type.
In 1453, the printing press was invented. It was a device that evenly print ink onto a medium, usually a paper or cloth. Its purpose is to make copies of identical text on multiple sheets of paper, and is the reason why we can mass print newspapers and magazines. It allows information to spread quickly and accurately, creating an increasingly knowledgeable public. The picture here shows an old printing press device.
In 1843, the rotary press was devised. It is a printing press that prints on a substrate, which is usually paper, cardboard, or plastic, that passes between a supporting cylinder and a cylinder that contains the printing plates. It is primarily used for high-speed, web-fed operations in which the press intakes paper from a roll, like newspaper printing. The picture here shows an old rotary press device for printing newspaper.
Developed in 1886, the mimeograph is a common technology which prints in small quantities by forcing ink through a stencil onto paper. This technology helped print the early fanzines as it was broad. Over time, newer printing techniques have been slowly replacing mimeographs. This picture here shows one of the earliest models of a mimeograph.
The development of the photocopier in 1938 allowed homes and workplaces to quickly copy a document. The photocopier uses the source of heat to create photocopies of documents. It charges a drum inside the machine with a bright light that reflects the document, in which ink is later applied onto a piece of paper. The picture here shows someone using an older model of a photocopying machine.
The inkjet printer was invented in 1951. The process of inkjet printing creates a digital image by dropping globules of dry ink onto printing materials. As the paper is fed into the printer head moves back and forth, propelling it onto the paper. The printer ink is stored in ink cartridges with separate cartridges for individual major colors. The picture here shows a modern commercial model of an inkjet printer.
The dot matrix printer, originating from 1968, print dots one at a time, and usually one text line at a time. Each dot is produced by a tiny metal rod, which is driven forward by the power in a small electromagnet or solenoid. Facing the ribbon and the paper is a small guiding plate with holes to serve as guides for the pins. The picture here shows a modern dot matrix printer.
Invented in 1969, the laser printer used a laser beam to scan a document to determine the toner distribution to the drum, which then prints out the desired document. However, when a laser printer or copier is operated for long periods of time, these gases can build up to create a possible health hazard. The picture here shows a modern laser printer.
In 1972, the thermal printer was invented. It produces a printed image by selectively heating coated thermochromic paper, which turns areas black where heated, producing an image. Thermal printers are smaller, lighter, quieter, and consume less power than other printers, making them ideal for portable applications. The picture here shows one of the latest models of thermal printers. Now that we've learned about the past, let's fast forward into the future.
In contrast to the older versions of printing in the past, there's a new method of printing, which is still in development, called 3D printing. The process involves a digital file on the computer, which one can edit to customize, which is basically a blueprint of the object to be printed, which is then sent to a 3D printer, which then prints the object. Now you may ask, how can you print out a 3D object, since current 2D printers only print out one layer of ink on paper? However, the answer is right in the question. The most common 3D printers print three-dimensionally by printing heated layers on layers, until the layers create the desired 3D object. The picture here shows some examples of 3D printed objects. Despite the obvious upsides to 3D printing, such as the ease of customization, 3D printing also has some expected downsides. For example, there is still no way to track what is getting printed in private 3D printers, so there is no way to stop the printing of illegal goods. As well, there are only a few types of materials which can be printed using 3D printing, but may be expanded in the future, since it is still in development.
Today we'll be interviewing Mr. Foucault. So Mr. Foucault, what are some of the benefits of 3D printing to the society?
With 3D printing, it's a great way of checking your ideas and building parts very quick and accurately before you commit all the resources needed for mass production. The other aspect of 3D printing is that each year they get more and more sophisticated, to the point where a kit like this, you can literally buy one for about $1,500 and set up shop in your garage, making anything you want. You can literally measure and fix. You break your mom's very nice coffee cup, measure it and print out a brand new one. In medical industry, the future will be literally printing out spare parts for you. All custom made, tailor made to your own body. Okay. And the next portion of 3D printing that will happen with society, involving medical research, will be literally be able to use your own stem cells, print on a scaffolding concerning your heart, lungs, or any other parts, and literally grow a brand new organ, print out one for you.
Okay then, what are some of the drawbacks of 3D printing to society?
There are very little drawbacks in the way of society, other than it might start displacing some of the more traditional, lower skill jobs, where several workmen were required to make something. A 3D printer needs a highly skilled and trained engineer to program it and set it up and run it, and yet it'll run night and day and make anything you want.
Do you think the advantage of 3D printing outweighed the disadvantage, or?
Yes. Think of it as the old Star Trek episodes where they always feature the replicator making all their spare parts. 3D printer will eventually evolve into something similar to that.
Do you think the 3D printer will impact the future?
Yes, it will. Eventually we will have, house will have a 3D printer, and anything that's needed could just be programmed, ordered online, the computer files to run it, load up the base with the required raw materials, and the printer will print out whatever you need.
Thank you for joining us for the history of printing. We hope you have learned something today.